Welcome to another episode of AI Talks with Chris and Nita, and today we're going deep into the OPT-ICS algorithm. Now, you've probably heard of DB-Scan if you've been following along, and you know a bit about clustering. But OPT-ICS, this is like DB-Scan's, big brother, I guess you could say. It's the more sophisticated version. It can handle
much more complex data.
Exactly, more complex data situations. It's like DB-Scan. It's good. Don't get me wrong, it works great when things are all clustered together nicely and neatly.
Yeah, if it's all very uniform.
But what if you have clusters and they're all different? Like they have different densities. What do you do then?
Yeah, that's a really good point. And that's actually where OPT-ICS really shines. It excels in those situations where you have a mix of those really tightly packed clusters and then some more spread out, maybe more sparse clusters. Imagine like trying to identify groups of trees in a forest, right?
Yeah, that's a great analogy.
Yeah, some areas you might have like a dense grove of trees, and then other areas you have trees that are kind of further apart. And DB-Scan might struggle with that, just because it is looking for that uniform density. But OPT-ICS, it can handle that gracefully.
That makes total sense.
Yeah.
So, how does OPK Techies actually work, though? I know it uses these concepts of core distance and reachability distance, and I gotta be honest with you, those sound kind of intimidating.
Yeah, they sound very technical, don't they? But actually, they're pretty intuitive.
Okay.
If you break them down. So let's start with core distance. So core distance is basically you're measuring how dense the neighborhood is around a certain data point, right?
Yeah.
So if a point has a lot of neighbors and those are all within a certain radius, then we say, okay, that's a core point.
Okay.
And it has a small core distance. But if a point is kind of out there, it's more isolated, well, then it's going to have a larger core distance. And I always think about, it's kind of like if you're gauging someone's popularity, like based on how many close friends they have. Yeah.
Right.
Like the more close friends they have, the more popular they are, the smaller their core distance would be in this world.
I see. So it's like the data point in a dense cluster is like the social butterfly of the data set.
Yeah. They've got lots of connections. And then you've got the kind of the loner points, the wallflowers, maybe. I don't know. But so then what about reachability distance, right? So reachability distance kind of builds upon that core distance idea.
Okay.
And it basically tells us how easy is it to reach a data point from another point.
Got it.
But we're taking into account those core distances as well, right? So a point that's really easy to reach, it's either close by or it's part of one of those really dense clusters.
Right.
That has a nice small core distance, right? But if it's a more remote point, maybe it's in a sparse cluster, well, it's going to have a larger reachability distance. It's going to be harder to get to that point. Okay.
So reachability distance kind of combines both proximity and also like the popularity of the data points. I like that.
Exactly. Yeah. And so, the beauty of OPT-ICS, I think, is in the way it actually visualizes all this information.
Okay.
And it puts it into something called a reachability plot. Have you seen one of these?
I have, yeah.
Okay. So you can kind of think about it like if your data was a city skyline.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
I like that.
And, the peaks, those are like sparsely populated areas or noise.
Okay.
And then those nice valleys, those correspond to those really dense clusters.
So instead of like giving you a very definitive answer of like which point belongs to which cluster, OPT-ICS is kind of like it provides this visual guide to explore the structure of your data.
Exactly. It gives you a much more nuanced view and a deeper understanding of the relationships, really, between your data points. And you can use this information to then make really informed decisions about, okay, how do we define clusters? How do we want to extract clusters and so on from this data set?
Oh, that's fascinating.
Yeah.
So tell me, if I were to analyze like my own social media network using OPT-ICS, would the reachability plot show me like whether I'm in a dense cluster of friends or more of an outlier? Like, would it tell me that?
It absolutely could. I mean, you might discover you're, part of several different clusters.
Oh, that's interesting.
That are all interconnected. Or maybe you're like a bridge between different groups.
Oh, that's cool.
Who knows? OPT-ICS can really reveal those hidden connections.
This has been a truly insightful deep dive. OPT-ICS it's clearly a powerful way to understand these complex data sets.
Yeah.
Especially when we're dealing with like different densities. It's not just about finding the clusters. It's about revealing the underlying structure of our data.
I love that. Yeah. And it really encourages us, I think, to think beyond, just basic categorization and embrace the complexities within our data. And OPT-ICS lets us do that.
Well said. Thanks for joining me on this deep dive.
Thank you. It's been fun.
And we'll see everybody next time.